I would like to ask some questions about Dr. Suzuki, the founder of the Suzuki Method, which has spread so much throughout the world. First, Artistic Director Mr. Toyoda. I heard there was a time when you lived with him. What kind of man was Dr. Suzuki? My feeling is that it wasn't like being raised by Dr. Suzuki. It was more like it was music. So I came to like music. I was nurtured through the great works of Mozart and Beethoven, and when I learned from them, just escalated. I feel very privileged to have been taught this greatness. And the purpose of all of it was not to be able to play the violin well or play the piano well. I embraced the philosophy on life from these great people as a child would. And being close to Dr. Suzuki and having been treated as one of the family and raised by Dr. Suzuki, a man who was always heard saying that people were to live for others. So in that respect, I am painfully aware of how fortunate I was to be so close to such a great teacher in that way. And Mr. Nakajima, what kind of man was Dr. Suzuki? Right after World War II, Dr. Suzuki started the Matsumoto School of Music, which I suppose was a type of private school. I was a student in the first class. It was the year right after the war ended, so with the help of other leaders of the arts in Matsumoto, Suzuki made the Matsumoto School of Music. And there I learned many things from Dr. Suzuki. The thing I remember most, because I played the violin, was that he said, if you take one day off of violin, you will regress 2 days. So it can be just a little bit, but make sure to practice your violin every day. At the time, I was already a fourth grader, so sometimes the lessons wouldn't go well, or I had interest in other things, and Dr. Suzuki could tell at once if I had not practiced for my lessons. So his statement about regressing 2 days when you miss 1 day has been a useful memory for me personally. I believe it is the same when studying anything, no matter what it is. Every day, you have to do even just a little bit. You won't achieve anything real if you just do it before a test and never do it any other time. I feel Suzuki taught me this core point of education. There are a lot of small children in the Suzuki Method, but I am sure because they are small children, there are days when they do not want to practice violin. What do you do to make it fun and to overcome such feelings? Well, Dr. Suzuki himself would have everyone play games while playing the violin, or walk around and play, or switch pieces when he clapped his hands. He did things that would be really fun for children. It needed to be something that would make music something that is fun. As Mr. Toyoda just said, by making it fun, every child will grow. Every child will grow. It depends on how they are raised. So these are the points where Dr. Suzuki's philosophy is still being praised today. When I was serving as president, there were 60,000 newborns in Matsumoto. These were the children that were going to be the treasures of Matsumoto. And I wished for every mother and father to raise each child with great care. And because there are no two children alike, I want every parent to hold on to Dr. Suzuki's words and raise their children into great cultured people, as they are to become important to their parents Matsumoto, Japan, and maybe even the world, to use the best method possible to raise their children. That is my wish. Dr. Suzuki used to say that any child's talent could blossom. Many of Dr. Suzuki's words are still inherited by many children today. Now please enjoy the music by violin students from the Suzuki Method. Nurturing musicians is not the foremost goal for us. We want to raise good citizens and fine human beings. These are the words of the founder of the Suzuki Method, Dr. Shinichi Suzuki. Just as these words say, the Suzuki Method has produced people who work at the front lines of many different areas. We talked with 2 students from the first class of the Matsumoto Conservatory. Well, my father was one of the 4 who helped start the Matsumoto School of Music, and I started because of my father's request. But I was engrossed with playing the violin. Practice through repetition. Repetition in anything, even the work I do now, is the most important thing. And it is one of the things I learned. Dr. Suzuki had very high expectations of us as people, though I do not feel I will be able to be like that. Being raised educational since I was a child, and to have learned this as a child from Dr. Suzuki has been a great treasure for me. There are many good violin players. I think I was probably the worst. But among us, there were many really good players who became violinists, and there were many who, the same as Mr. Nakajima, became great leaders in other areas. And there were many like myself who went into areas of business. What Suzuki taught was human education. All children can be educated. What Dr. Suzuki taught is hard to explain in just a few words, but it is humanism. People whose hearts are warm to others, to develop people through music. I appreciate what he taught to me. Everyone knows that the Suzuki Method that is spreading throughout the world is a fabulous educational method. As one of the first students and as a member of the World Convention Committee, I hope this convention will be a huge success and that the people of Matsumoto will understand more about the Suzuki Method. And in order to do this, it is important to understand what the Suzuki Method is based on, so that it can be a great convention I myself would like to assist.